Hello everybody, welcome back to Automation Game. My name is Marcus and today we're continuing our Let's Play of Consolidated Motorcars Incorporated. This is episode 2. Last episode we released our first trim and took it for a test drive in BeamNG Drive. Then we rushed radial tires and two-shoe drum brakes. Now we are ready to design our first facelift. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right in. Okay, so starting with the engine, we're going to replace the variant. Of course, we're going to keep using our existing family. We're just going to update it. We're going to leave it at a 1400cc displacement. Last time we bored it down from its max capacity of 1.6 liters. Taking a walk through here, the first major upgrade we're going to make, and probably the only major upgrade we're going to make this time around, is swapping over to a two-barrel carb. I really like two-barrel carbs in this game. They just strike a really nice balance between good fuel economy, allowing a little bit more power. We're not choked on it like we were on the single-barrel eco carb, but we still get pretty good fuel economy. It's a pretty minimal compromise there. Actually, I think if we release the exhaust just a little bit, I think we want to keep it there, actually, even though that's slightly worse for fuel economy, but that's okay. Our engine's also revs slightly higher now. It's a little bit more power on the top end, but we're still very comfortable at our 4,500 RPM rev limit. The other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to jam a little bit of quality into that two-barrel carb, and we're also going to grab a little bit more compression. There we go. Yeah, that looks nice. So we still have a slight improvement of fuel economy over our previous trim, I believe. I think that one came at 15.6 when we finally released it, so we're just getting an all-around improvement here. Is there anything else that we want to add into this engine? No, I don't think so. I don't think we need a reverse flow muffler. Baffled is just kind of good enough. Is it worth it to pop a quality point here into exhaust? It might just be. Yeah, that gives us a little bit more fuel efficiency and that all-important reliability. So we'll stick with that because I think our engine engineering time this time around is going to be a lot shorter than our trim engineering time. So that'll be okay. Of course, we're going to switch this over. This is now the E51-1400. No changes to the design. I'm still not going to add another trim because we were already pretty much maxing out our factory production before with our existing one trim. So I don't want to compromise efficiency by introducing another trim if we're already using our entire factory. So we'll leave it where it is. Test out maybe doing an automatic. I mean, pretty much all the demographics prefer it, even though a 2-speed automatic is it's pretty bleak. And it's less reliable. It's a lot less reliable. The whole point. We'll stick with the manual for now. Save a little bit on engineering time. But here we are, the radial tires. Wow. Big difference in fuel economy. We can even make them slightly bigger. And we can do that because we now have two-shoe drums. The capability to actually stop the car. Imagine that. So I can take even a little bit less aggressive pads, make the car a little bit more comfortable. That helps. Leave our aerodynamics where they are. Everything looks good here. We may want to even want to just put one quality point into interior. We might need that just to avoid the comfort penalty stacking up over time by the time we release this trim. Still no power steering available. That's okay. Standard 40s is the best we have available. Also, that's fine. Well, it has to be. We don't have a choice. Our roll angle is a little bit more aggressive than I would like, so I'm going to just add one more click of front sway bar just to take that in a little bit, and that'll also make the car a little bit more drivable as well. Let's take a look at the markets. Family budget is our target, not family utility. Although we also would very much like to sell in family utility budget as well. And we've got some good looking scores here. Alright. Selling well on city budget, city eco as well. Very good. Just for kicks, let's see how fast it goes around the test track. And it gets around in a whopping 3 minutes 19 and change seconds. Yeah, that is a fast vehicle. Okay. All right. Is that everything we need to do for this car? I think it just might be. I don't think we need to add anything in anywhere else. Does a quality point here mean anything? Well, it adds a little bit too much of in the production units. That's like a whole production unit. So I don't think we want to do that. Everything in here still seems okay. Oh, that's one thing that we can do. We can actually space our gearing a tiny bit more because we have slightly wider tires now. There we go. That's going to give us a lower first gear, make the car more drivable, especially in traffic. You know, remember when we test drove it last time in Beam, it almost stalled right off the line immediately. This will help make that just a little bit more forgiving and just a little bit more drivable. We actually have good brake tuning now too, with a little bit more aggressive in the front, capable of locking both wheels. And this will give good braking stability. This is what you want here, tuned to lock the fronts before the rears do. Ideally, you'd like even more bias than this, but this is what we have available to us right now, and it's good enough. So let's keep moving along. Is it worth it to put a point of quality into the steering system? Yes, it is. They actually like that, most probably because it improves drivability, I would think. And that's pretty cheap in terms of production units, so yeah, I think we'll stick with that. Yeah, just one is adequate. Two would be too much. Suspension tuning, aside from our little sway bar tweak, I think that's still good. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and refresh our factory. We only have 12.3 million, and I don't think we have enough money to upgrade our factory just yet. I do eventually want to make this into a medium 3, but I just don't think we can swing that quite yet with our financial situation. We spent all our money last episode on that Galvey plant, so we're not exactly flush with cash. We gotta tighten the belt a little bit. I am going to increase our quality control just slightly because we can. We'll get a little bit better average build quality now than we did before. Now we come to engineering. Oh, that's a beautiful sight. Now, Vegan or Hippie, a commenter on my previous video, wisely pointed out that when you lower this pressure slider, it also has a positive impact on reliability. And it's probably more efficient, especially when you take into account the familiarity gain, to drop a few points out of pressure from near 50 than it is to try and slam this reliability slider all the way up to the top, say above 90 or so. So that's exactly what we're going to do here. I think we want to target, let's say, an 18-month engineering time. That seems reasonable. And that will also get our car out pretty quickly because we are still competitive on our original model, but not quite as competitive as we'd like to be anymore. Let's save maybe a little bit of money. 80, that seems okay. And we can even make it a little bit cheaper as well. That's pretty reliable. Okay, now let's have a look at the engine and see what we're going to do here. Okay, same. Oh, actually, on this one, we're still chopping off a lot of production here. Then again, we have plenty of excess production, and engine production is nowhere near as expensive as car production, so maybe we can run it just a tidbit more aggressively. Engineering time here, whoa, 25 months. I guess that 2-barrel carb really added quite a bit. But we do have that reliability slider cranked all the way up, so we're going to give this the same treatment. We're going to drop this down to about 80. I'm going to crank in a little bit more funding. We're going to drop a little bit out of the materials cost because it's so low anyway. We can kind of squeak things that way. And maybe can we just just get this under 18 months, I would really, really like that. I don't want to compromise any more than I already have on the reliability slider. Oh, that adds a lot of cost because our labor is expensive. But this one here, I mean, this really doesn't have a substantial impact on engineering time to drop points out of it. I don't really want to go much lower than this. We'll cram that all the way to the top, and then here we are, right at 18 months. It's still not quite as reliable as I'd like it to be, but we got to jump in on that 2-barrel carb, I think, because it's something that we're going to need down the road. All right, let's complete. Okay, that's another good-looking forecast. All right, this is pretty cheap, and what I actually think that we're going to do here is just not borrow at all. Right now in automation, there really isn't a consequence for dipping into the negative money. They've talked about how that's going to go away in future editions, so we're going to try not to abuse it too much, but I don't think it's too game-breaking just to dip in a little bit into the negative. So that's exactly what we're going to do here, and it's going to save us quite a bit of money in the long run, and it'll get us cash flow positive sooner, which is very, very important in the early game, I think. All right, here we go. Let's sign her off. And should be about a 6-month tooling time, so our 6-month stock target is perfect. Let's play it for a few minutes and see how it goes. Well, actually, it just occurred to me before we hit the next tick, we don't need to be rushing all this money into wheels anymore, nor do we need to be rushing all that money into brakes. Is there anything that we do want to rush money into? Well, let's see. Progressive springs would be nice, but we're probably going to have those unlocked by the time we reach our next trim anyway. Same with standard safety. I guess the one thing that we will do is just put 1 point here into the fuel system, because that again will help reliability, just having that slight edge there. And we'll put 1 point into chassis as well, because being a year head there, that helps us just get a nice small across-the-board bonus to most of our base stats. It's just a nice little buff for a reasonable price. So we'll go back, we'll unpause, and let the game run for a few minutes and see how our second trim comes out. And we're in a really nice spot here where we're cash flow positive in the early game, we're paying off our debts, and we're building up a little bit of money. This is exactly where I want to be at this stage. Now, we don't have nearly enough stock to make it through our retooling now, but that is what it is. And we're going to come out of it still with a little bit of positive balance in the bank. Not too much, but 50 million, which is good because usually you have to run the factory really aggressively out of the gate just to build up some stock. But our first trim for now, it seems good. Let's just let it run for a tick or two and see where things go. Well, looking good, selling at a very, very nice markup, making a lot of money. Okay, let's take this now and export it to BeamNG Drive, and we can give it a test. After selling this for a little while and wearing down our minor tooling just a little bit, I think in 1955, after we unlock progressive springs, safety upgrade, a little bit of interior, a couple of nice techs, what we're going to do, we're going to start our final facelift of this car, or what I think will be our final facelift of this car. That's going to carry us right into the 1960s in terms of sales, at which point I think it'll be time to design a new model. That's I think is pretty good service life out of this platform. Let's check our minimum safety regulations. Okay, so 1960, it just needs to be 10 in Proenia, so I think we're already there. Take a quick look. Oh yeah, 17, we got plenty of safety. It's plenty safe. It's plenty safe. All right, let's go in and liberate the final facelift of the Liberator. We're going to go into our engine 2. We're not going to make any major material upgrades this time. We are just going to screw in a little bit more quality, a little bit more compression, and basically just make it a little bit cheaper. Should we rev it a little bit higher? Just a little bit higher, yeah. And a couple more points of quality into the carburetor, making it yet more fuel efficient and, more importantly, yet more reliable. I think +5 is nice. And we'll just max out our compression there. Leave the exhaust on +1. We'll leave it on a baffled muffler as well. I don't think there's too much to be gained from a reverse flow. Should we make the exhaust slightly bigger? Or, you know what, maybe what we do, we make the exhaust slightly bigger and then switch to a reverse flow. I don't know. Actually, let's hold the engine. Let's compare those two. This one is more efficient, but we give up actually about 2.5 horsepower and quite a bit of torque up here in the top end, but we gain a little bit down here. I think we leave it as is. Give it a listen. Very, very nice. Alright, our beautiful, beautiful, ugly sedan body. We're going to give it the final send-off it deserves. Do we give it an automatic this time, maybe? Well, let's go select our target market so we can compare honestly. Ooh, wow. Big bonus. Gets rid of all sportiness entirely. Again, it does sacrifice reliability, though. That kind of goes against our mantra. And miles per gallon, but they do like it a lot better. Let's go with it. We are going to have to switch over to automatics eventually. We're not going to be making any other major upgrades to this car, I think, in this facelift, except for minor things to like safety and progressive springs, which won't take very long. So I think it'll be a good time to sneak the automatic transmission in. Should we make the tires a little bit wider as well? Let's see. No, we keep them narrow. They like the nice narrow wheels. Brakes are good. I don't think we need to make any changes here. So are the aerodynamics. Basic, none. Do we like a basic radio? No, they don't like a basic radio. We'll upgrade the safety, because that helps. Helps scores pretty much across the board and only adds a tiny, tiny bit of material cost. We can probably fiddle with the ratios here on the automatic. I'm flipping around here, but we can go back here and maybe... should we lower the spacing a little bit? No, we shouldn't. We should increase the spacing, matter of fact. Alright, now we're getting a little bit of wheel spin. Right about there seems good. And they like even taller gearing, but to be honest, I don't know if I want to subject myself to that in Beam. Well, that's okay. And finally, we're going to switch over to progressive springs. That's going to give us a little bit more comfort, a little bit more load capacity for very, very little added expense. Yeah, okay. Let's go ahead, and I think that's where it's going to be. Our dampers are still hard, but they're not. I mean, that's okay. The car rides a little bit firm. I think that'll be fine. Now here we get to the point where things do get a little bit interesting. We've got 146 million. The question is, do we want to take this opportunity to upgrade our factory size? I think we do. It's a risk. We're definitely going to have to borrow to do it, but we're in a strong cash flow position. I'm pretty confident that this model's going to sell well. Let's go ahead and upgrade this to a medium 3, because if we're going to take the time, 27 versus 34 months, like, if it's going to be offline for 27 months anyway, we might as well just go right for the medium 3, get all the capacity we can out of it, because, to do 27 months now and then to want to have to upgrade it again later down the line, that's just too much offline time. We're going to skip right to a level 3. I'm going to leave the sliders as they are. Engineering time 32, which is a little bit on the long side, but that's kind of okay. Actually, we might just go for 36 because our current trim is selling so well. And we still have some minor tooling left, so we're not in a massive rush to retool the factories. And I mean, let's be real, it's 34 months of construction time anyway, so we're only going to have a couple more months of production after we sign this project off. So that's how it's going to be. We'll drop a little bit more out of pressure so we learn a little bit. Dump a little bit more into reliability. I like where that's at. It's slightly less reliable than our old trim because of the automatic transmission, I suspect, but not that much more. We're just going to live with it. So now we come to another decision. Do we upgrade our engine factory? Since our car factory is going to be offline for so long anyway, it might make sense just to take the hit in terms of opportunity cost and upgrade the engine factory while we're at it, because we may want to produce another model off of this engine at some time in the future, and I won't want to take this factory offline for a long time for construction time. On the other hand, we don't have a ton of money, and it would really save a buck if we could just leave the engine factory as is while we upgraded our car factory. How much does it cost? 500 million. Wow. Okay, I don't think we, or even, I don't even think we can afford a level 2. Oh man, let's see. Let's build it out with just the medium 1 and see how it looks. Again, targeting 36 months here on our sliders. I'm going to drop the pressure down, reliability up, process up. This is just going to be, it's going to be cheap and reliable and a fantastic little terrible motor. Okay, so we are a little bit overstressed on our engine factory. We're going to be bottlenecked on that, so I think we have no choice but to sink some upgrades into our engine factory. But it's okay, because our car factory is going to be offline anyway. A medium 2 should be good enough. That's going to cost about 300 million, as opposed to the 550 million that it would take to build a medium 3. I think the medium 2 is all we need, and it'll hold us over for at least a while. We just need to cut a corner somewhere. Okay, our engineering time looks good. Our engine production graph now looks good. And our forecast looks very, very good indeed. I like this a lot. So we'll go ahead, we'll sign this off and let it run us into the 60s. Wow, the cost is $1 billion. They're definitely going to have to borrow to do this. Ooh. We can't even borrow enough against our company valuation to cover the whole cost. Ooh, this is difficult. 8.8 million. Wow. Oh, this is tough. Do we make our medium factory and basically use all of our available cash flow to cover the loan? But we might have more cash flow because we're producing more cars. Well, you know what? If you want to grow, you got to take risks. We're gonna do it. We're gonna leverage up. We're gonna borrow to the hilt, and we're going to upgrade our factory. Whew, that's a long construction time. Okay, so this might not be quite as bad as I thought. We're losing a lot of money, but I do think we're going to come out of this actually still with a little bit of savings left. Ooh, our credit rating is tanking. Oh, this model better sell well. Ah, and it does. With a nice markup. Ah, yes. We've got a model selling profitably. We're paying off our loan. I feel like we're really well positioned. We're going to go ahead and export this model to test in BeamNG Drive. And I'm going to renege on what I said earlier. I'm not sure if we have quite enough juice left in our factory, and for that matter on this facelift even, to take us into the 60s to make our new model. We may wind up doing one more quick facelift of this, or perhaps just refreshing the tooling next episode. We'll see. But I think that's going to wrap it up for the automation side of today's episode. I'll see you guys over in BeamNG Drive, where we'll test drive these two models and see how they are and see if they're any improvement over last episodes. Okay, so here we are. We're back in BeamNG Drive with the Liberator, this time the Budget Sedan 51. Our version with a few significant upgrades from our original car, namely 2-shoe drums and a 2-barrel carburetor, and most importantly, radial tires. A couple of just big all-around improvements. So let's take it for a spin and see if it handles any better or drives any better than our previous one, which I have to admit wasn't exactly a driver's car. It gets off the line a little bit better than the other one, especially given that that was on level ground. The wider space gearing has helped a little bit. It's still a slow car. This is flat out, by the way. It's still pretty bouncy, as you might expect. It's definitely a little bit more tail-happy than the old one. Perhaps because it has a little bit more power, or more likely, I think, because it has a little bit more front grip. Oh man, it still really struggles to get up this hill in second gear. The Bumblebee motor, it's a tower of reliability, but not a tower of power. So, yeah. The car actually, it's still a little bit understeery, but it handles okay. Has a little bit more grip than the old one. So the 2-barrel carb definitely makes a noticeable difference as you get higher up in the rev range. Up past the 3,000 or 4,000 RPM mark, it really lets the engine give a little bit more oomph and really power the car up to 60 miles an hour. You'll remember the old one, we're just touching off of it there. Remember the old one really struggled just to break 50, just because that engine was so anemic. This time the 55 model. Only real change here is the addition of a 2-speed slush-o-matic gearbox in exchange for that 3-speed manual that we had before. It certainly eliminates the problem of all that stalling, but it seems to have exacerbated wheel spin even more. And slam, kicks it down to 2,500 RPM. This is still floored, by the way. Pedal to the metal, and just the RPMs in the second gear, they don't move at all. Effective top speed of 50 miles an hour or so. I wonder if it'll kick down to first going up this hill. Doesn't look like it will. It will lose some speed, though. Whoa! Nearly rolled it there. Wow. You know, I have to admit, this car with the 2-speed automatic is pretty grim. I know the demographics preferred it and everything, but in Beam it was really a lot more fun with the manual, and you could actually use what little power that little 4-banger has. So, yeah. Other than that, this car is virtually identical to the 51 model, so I'm not going to spend a whole ton of time testing it. I just wanted to see a little bit how that automatic transmission felt compared to the manual. So aside from the change in transmission, this car is virtually identical to the old model, so I'm not going to spend too much time testing it because there just aren't that many changes going on here. I think that's going to just about wrap it up for today's episode, so I want to say thank you all for watching and supporting me as I'm starting off this Let's Play. I really hope you guys enjoy it, and just like last time, if you have any feedback or ideas, please leave them in the comments below. I really appreciate it. Love to get some input on what direction or ideas you guys have for ways to take this playthrough, models you'd like to see created, or spin-offs, things like that. Just let me know, and we'll see if we can make it happen. Thank you guys so much again, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.